Florida car accidents, the 5 things you must do immediately after you've been in an accident. You've just been rear-ended. The metal crunching, the adrenaline spiking, and you've got seconds to decide what happens next. One wrong move here can saddle you with another driver's repair bill and strip away your right to compensation under Florida law. Stick with me for 5 field-tested steps, starting with a single phone call that locks down your evidence, safeguards your health, and stops insurers from rewriting the story. Hi, I'm Pablo Tamayo. I've been a lawyer practicing law in the state of Florida for almost 2 decades. The first thing you need to know is that your safety and the safety of others trumps everything else. I don't care if it's a minor fender bender or you think nobody's hurt. Move to safety if you can. Turn on your hazard lights and call 911 immediately. Now here's why this matters legally in Florida. Under Florida Statute 316.062, you're required to report any accident that results in injury, death, or property damage that exceeds $1,000. You might look at your bumper and think there's no way this is $1,000 in damage, but let me tell you something. After 20 years of handling these types of cases, with the recent inflation that's occurred in this country, modern car repairs are expensive. What looks like a small scratch can easily be $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, and on and on and on. Once you factor in paint, matching, labor, parts, the type of vehicle you're driving, all sorts of considerations. But more importantly, calling 911 creates an official record for your case. When that police officer arrives and writes up that crash report, that becomes a crucial piece of the puzzle for your injury claim. I've seen cases where clients thought they were being nice by not calling the police or appeasing the driver of the other car because you're a nice person and they thought it was the right thing to do. Well, later on, that person and the insurance adjuster end up telling a completely different story from what actually happened in those cases. The police report isn't just a formality. It contains the officer's assessment of fault, witness statements, and the diagram of how the accident actually occurred. While the officer's assessment isn't the be-all, end-all for your case, it does document the facts and circumstances of your accident and often serves as an initial roadmap to determine fault for the accident. Without that report, the insurance adjuster evaluating your case will be much more skeptical in their review of the value of your case. Once you've ensured everyone's safety and you've called 911, your next job is to become a detective. Take pictures of everything, and I mean everything. The damage to all the vehicles, the position of the cars, the road conditions, nearby traffic signs, skid marks, if any, debris from the vehicles and the location of that debris, and any visible injuries that you have in your body. Your smartphone is your best friend here. Take wide shots that show the entire scene, close-ups of the damage, anything and everything. Photograph the license plates, the other driver's insurance card, and their driver's license if possible. In Florida, you are required under Statute 342.022 to provide your insurance information, and you have the right to receive theirs. If the situation becomes adversarial or confrontational, it's best to just wait for the police to come to obtain all parties' insurance. But here's what most people don't think to do. Take pictures of things that might seem irrelevant. Was it raining? Photograph the wet pavement, puddles on the ground to demonstrate what the weather looked like on that day. Was the sun setting? Was it causing a glare? Take a picture showing the lighting conditions. Was there any construction nearby? Document it. These details might seem minor, but they can end up being crucial in establishing fault and providing further evidence in your case. Now, this next piece is really important. If there are people who saw what happened and they stopped to give their statements or to provide their information, get their contact information and ask them to describe what they saw. Don't assume the police will do this. Sometimes officers are busy, they forget, they're preoccupied by other parts of their investigation, and sometimes those witnesses leave before the police arrive. And sometimes the police report doesn't capture everything that the witnesses observed. Again, it's in your best interest to be a detective within reason. Now, we actually had a case once where we were able to locate a witness who was driving a Tesla, and his vehicle captured the entire accident on video. For some reason, this witness was not listed on the crash report by the police, so we never knew about him. But once we got that video and we located the witness, it changed the whole trajectory of that case, and the insurance company paid up big within the next month. Moral of the story, It can make your life much easier if you're able to speak to any witnesses on scene and gather any evidence they may have. Seek medical attention immediately. This is where I see people make the biggest mistake. They think they feel fine at the scene, but they try and tough it out, hoping they'll get better in a few days. Well, oftentimes that proves to be wrong. Adrenaline is a powerful thing, and it can mask the severity of your pain and injuries for hours or even days after the accident. Under Florida's personal injury protection law, found in Florida Statute 627.736, you have 14 days to seek medical treatment for your injuries to be covered by your PIP insurance. But here's what's really important. If you wait too long to see a doctor, the insurance company is going to argue that your injuries weren't really caused by the accident, or they diminished them to the extent they can. I've handled cases where clients felt fine initially, but started to experience neck pain, headaches, or back pain just a few days later. When they finally went to the doctor, the insurance company claimed their injuries were from something else entirely, or they downplayed the seriousness of those complaints. Don't give them that ammunition. Even if you think you'll feel better in a few days, get checked out. Go to the emergency room if you need to, or go see your primary care doctor as soon as possible, or make an appointment to see any local chiropractic or physical therapist that you can, so you can get an evaluation of your physical restrictions, your physical complaints. Tell them you were in a car accident and describe any symptoms of pain you're feeling, no matter how minor they seem at the time. Again, documentation is everything. Document with your healthcare providers. If you're experiencing pain, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. If certain activities are difficult, make sure and tell your doctor. This medical record becomes crucial evidence in your case. Contact your insurance company, but be careful what you say. Now, the reason I say that is because in Florida, you're required to report the accident to your insurance company, usually within a reasonable amount of time, or as specified in the language of your own policy. But here's what you need to be smart about: what you say and how you say. When you call your insurance company, stick to the basic facts. When the accident happened, where it happened, what happened, any complaints of injuries that you have at the time. But don't speculate about fault. Don't downplay your injuries, and don't give detailed statements until you've had time to process everything. Usually these statements occur within the first day or two after the accident. Remember, even your own insurance company isn't necessarily on your side. They're in the business of paying out as little as possible. Under Florida Statute 627.4265, insurance companies have certain obligations to deal fairly with their own insured, but that doesn't mean they won't try and minimize your claim or avoid making payments that they don't have to. Now, if the other driver's insurance company calls you, be extremely cautious. You're not required to give them a recorded statement, and I generally advise my clients not to. These insurance adjusters are trained to ask questions that might actually hurt your case. They might ask how you're feeling and try and downplay your injuries because you're trying to be polite, because you haven't seen a doctor yet, and they'll certainly use that against you later. So here's a real example from my practice. A client gets rear-ended, and the day after the accident, when the other driver's insurance adjuster calls, she said that she was doing okay. Well, at the time, she was just trying to be polite. She was worrying about a million other things, like how will I get around without my car? Who's going to pick up the kids now? And what am I going to tell my boss? And is he or she going to be mad at me for having to miss work? But those 3 words, I'm doing okay, were later used against her to argue that she wasn't really that injured and to try and minimize the value of her claim, despite the fact that she had significant diagnostic findings in her MRIs and months of treatment for ongoing pain and discomfort that stemmed from the accident that she was in. So always be careful of what you're saying to the insurance adjuster. As a general guideline, it's probably best to consult with an attorney before you give any recorded statements to any insurance companies. Preserve all the evidence and don't sign anything. Now, this final point is crucial, and it's where I see people get taken advantage of all the time. After an accident, you're going to receive calls from the insurance companies like we discussed, maybe even visits from the adjusters. They might seem friendly and helpful, and maybe they are. But remember, they're trying to settle your case for as little amount as possible. Don't sign anything without understanding exactly what it is. Don't accept a quick settlement offer. Don't cash a check that they sent you in the mail, no matter how reasonable it may seem at the time. You might not know the full extent of your injuries for weeks or even months after the accident. And the worst thing you can do is cash a check for thousands and multiples less than what your case is actually worth. Keep detailed records of everything related to the accident. Save all of your medical bills to the extent you can. Keep track of time missed from work. Document any pain or limitations that you may have. Take photos of your injuries, bruising, cuts, anything that resulted from the accident. Any surgeries, take photos of those. Take photos of the before and after, especially bruising that might have not appeared immediately, but did accrue over the following days after the accident. If you've been given prescription medications, keep those receipts for your payments. If you need physical therapy, document those sessions. If you have to hire help around the house for significant injuries because you're not able to do things you normally do, keep those receipts too. Under Florida law, you're entitled to recover for both economic damages, such as your medical bills and a percentage of your lost wages, as well as non-economic damages, like pain and suffering. But you can only recover for damages that you can prove. Documentation is your proof. I actually had a client who was in an accident and developed chronic pain that required years of ongoing treatment. Because she kept meticulous records from day one, we were actually able to secure a great settlement for her because we could prove that the impact the injuries had on her quality of life was directly a result from this accident. So don't let the insurance company rush you into a settlement. In Florida, you generally have 2 years from the date of the accident to file a personal injury lawsuit. That might seem like a long time, but insurance companies will often try to pressure you into settling quickly before you know the full extent of your injuries and before you could consult with an attorney about your rights. Bottom line, look, I know this is a lot to remember when you're dealing with the stress and chaos of a car accident. I've been there and I've represented hundreds, maybe even thousands of clients who have been there. But these 5 steps can make the difference between a fair recovery and walking away with nothing sometimes. Or, even worse, being held responsible for damages that weren't even your fault. So remember, ensure your safety, call 911, document everything, seek medical attention immediately, be careful with what you say to the insurance companies, and preserve all the evidence you can. Each of these steps protects your rights and strengthens your potential case. You've just learned the 5 critical steps that can protect you immediately after a Florida car accident. But there's another crucial piece of the puzzle that every Florida driver needs to understand, and most people actually get completely wrong. Your PIP insurance coverage isn't just a legal requirement, it's your financial lifeline after an accident, but only if you know how to use it correctly. In my next video, Florida PIP insurance, what every driver needs to know, I'm going to walk you through exactly how PIP works, what it covers, what it doesn't cover, and the common mistakes that can cost you thousands of dollars in medical bills. This isn't optional knowledge. It's essential to protecting yourself and your family while driving on the roads in Florida. Now, until next time, I'll see you over there.